Hi, this is Jason with Jason's Trucking Info, and this is going to be the first part in several parts on how to become a truck driver. And it's going to be chopped up into several parts. I'm going to go over everything from what you need to consider before you commit to the decision to go out and try to become a truck driver, and the things that you really want to know about before you commit to the decision. After that, the next parts are going to go into how to prepare to go to truck driving school and things you need to do before you ever even head off to go to wherever you're going to go to trucking school at. And then I'm going to go over what to expect in truck driving school and what you should expect when you're out with a driver trainer, and when you get released from your trainer and start getting your own truck, whether that is with a co-driver that you and another driver may decide you want to be co-drivers, or you might get assigned with someone, you never know. But I'm going to show you what all you can expect to deal with during each one of those parts that I'm going to do. So this part is all about the things you need to consider before you commit to the decision to go to truck driving school. Number one, do you like to drive for long periods of time? Can you handle driving for 10 plus hours? Most truck drivers drive for at least 10 hours a day most days, and drive, in all kinds of road conditions, in rain, sleet, snow, ice, and all kinds of stuff, driving through mountain ranges and big hills, downgrades and stuff, and a lot of high winds and things like that, and you're driving a really big vehicle. So that's something you really want to consider. You really gotta like to travel, and you really gotta like staring at the highway, going down the road, staring out the windshield, seeing only what you get to see from the highway, because that's 90% of what you're going to be doing, is sitting behind the wheel of that semi truck and watching the world go by as you travel to wherever your delivery or pickups are, and doing all that stuff that gets entailed with driving down the road. You got to be a self-motivator. You got to be able to get up and motivate yourself to do all kinds of things, like getting out in the elements during all the seasons of the year: snow, rain, torrential downpours, icy roads, and all kinds of stuff. And depending on what kind of equipment you're hauling, will depend on how much you're going to have to deal with in those elements. So, if you're just doing dry van or reefer or something, you most usually just have to contend with coupling and uncoupling in that weather. But you might also have to get out and chain in the mountains and stuff like that. So those are things to consider. If you become a flatbedder, you got to deal with tarps and the wind and rain and stuff. You got to deal with straps and load securement and stuff like that. And just depending on what kind of equipment and where you go to work for will depend on what you got to deal with. So next thing is, you need to be aware of what your health is. If your health is already not very good, you might want to reconsider being a truck driver, because it's only going to get worse, because you're going to have a very sedentary lifestyle. And depending on how your diet is and what kinds of stuff that you do, if you smoke, if you drink a lot of soda or other things that aren't so good for your body, being in this sedentary lifestyle, you're going to be sitting behind the wheel of a truck for 10 plus hours, and then you're probably going to go and sleep. So you're not going to be moving around all that much usually, unless you force yourself to get out and take walks and do whatever you can to try to get some exercise whenever possible. So you really gotta take those into consideration. So if you already have, health situations, you might really want to reconsider being a truck driver if you already have those going on. What kind of driving record and criminal background might you have? Do you have anything in either one of your driving records or your criminal record that might prevent you from becoming a truck driver? Because depending on what is in your background and how old they are can be a really big factor into whether or not you're even going to be able to become a truck driver. It may be something that you got to wait a period of time before stuff falls off your record, depending on what's on there, whether it's your driving record or criminal history, and depending on how severe that stuff is. And that's something you really want to discuss with a recruiter when you make those phone calls, if that's something that's going to be a problem. So be completely upfront and you shouldn't have a problem. Do you have a family at home? Are you single? Are you young? Are you old? What's your current living situation, and do you have people that are going to be wanting you home? Most truck drivers are gone for 4 to 6 weeks at a time, and on average, and don't make it home for more than maybe 3-4 days after being gone for usually about 4 weeks at least. And so if that's something that's not going to work for you, that's something you're going to have to contend with for probably the first couple of years until you get some time on your belt and you find a company that you can go to, maybe local or something. But you want to get at least 2 years of experience, and until you have 2 years of experience, there's a lot of things that just are going to kind of suck when you first get into the trucking industry, and a lot of hard learning lessons and stuff like that. You also got to make sure that you have enough money to float yourself for whatever expenses you're going to have for at least a month, maybe even longer, because you're not going to get a whole very big paychecks when you're out with a trainer. They kind of give you a base pay, usually, depending on the company. Usually it's only a few $100s every week, like maybe $300 if you're lucky. It just kind of depends on the company that you go for and how they've got their system set up. You won't be making that cents per mile until after you get released from your trainer and get in your own truck, whether solo or team. And then if you're on team, you're splitting those miles with your co-driver. If you're on a truck by yourself, you're keeping all those miles. So those are things you're going to want to consider. I mean, what expenses you're going to have. You know, some of the training companies and schools have, they'll give you like maybe one meal voucher a day sometimes. That's another thing you're going to want to ask about, and it's really something you want to take into consideration. So all these things are not to talk you out of being a truck driver. It's just to kind of give you the realities of what you're going to be dealing with. You're going to be probably getting bused far away, unless you live in the city and state that you're going to go to school for and take all these classes. Unless you're fortunate enough to live in the city and state that you're going to be going to and you can go home every night, you're probably going to be taking a bus or some other means of transportation to get out to that location where the school is. And you might get put up in a hotel. There might be a dormitory style living situation, and you don't know how many roommates you might have. You could have just you and one other person, or there could be 6 other people. I've seen it both ways, and just depending on how they are set up, it's just some of those things you're going to have to think about. And this ain't everything, folks. This is what I could just think of off the top of my head right now. There are other things you might want to consider as well, and you're going to want to rack your brain and try to come up with any other questions you might think of. Or if you know anybody that's already an over-the-road truck driver, can talk to them and find out stuff from them as well. And they might give you other tidbits of information that maybe I forgot to include in this video. So, and for anybody else watching this video, any truck drivers who are watching this and you feel that I've forgotten to mention something, or you have a question, or you would like to add to what I've talked about in this video, feel free to get in the comments below and write any comments or questions. And if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. hit the bell so you're notified of all my upcoming videos. And like I just got done saying, leave comments or questions and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, this was part 1 of how to become a truck driver. Look forward to part 2 in this how to become a truck driver series. And thanks for watching. Catch you next video. Bye.